Okay, got my audio going.
What's up, buds? Welcome to another episode of the Earbuds Podcast. That's right. It's the podcast where two buds talk about ears for a podcast, bud.
God damn it! I literally searched earbuds podcast on YouTube, and the first 3 pages are videos about best earbuds for podcasting. And I'm like, we need to change our name,
Or start talking about earbuds.
we need to rebrand, yeah, or just embrace
lean
it
into
and
it.
literally be, dude. That's probably what people think we are. Fuck. When they see earbuds podcast, they're like, dude, people made a podcast about earbuds. What the fuck? And then they listen to us and we're talking about like pollution and
Well, no,
Limp
because all the
Bizkit.
titles are album names and stuff. Unless
yeah, but maybe they think we're being meta.
we're talking about like what headphones they should use if you want to like listen to this album.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I fear that we might need to rebrand soon.
All right, well, be on the look for that. But for right now,
Yeah.
Lucas, I think we're kind of the odd couple of podcasts, maybe the pod couple of oddcasts,
Little column A, little column B.
you know? And today
Yeah.
we're talking about a big album from a big artist, Mr. Morale
Yeah.
and the Big Steppers. It's Kendrick Lamar, baby.
It's K. Dot, man. I was really intimidated to listen and talk about this record.
Ever since we knew this album was coming out, I was already intimidated to talk about it.
I remember our reaction when we found out it was coming out was excitement, but dread
It's like, fuck.
at the same time, because obviously we are gonna want to talk about it, but then how the fuck are we going to?
Yeah.
You know, his albums are so layered. They're like the parfaits of the hip hop world. And there's always so much going on lyrically
Right.
and thematically.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, dude, to try and break this down, it took me way too long to start listening to this record. We had decided on this over a week ago, and I didn't start listening to it until 3 days ago.
Oh, really?
I had friends texting me. I had group chats about this record going, and they were listening to it and they were reacting to it, and they were like, man, after so many songs, I went, damn. And, wow, like this song in particular, and Auntie Diaries and all this stuff. And then that's why and we had already talked, me and you, about potentially doing this as a 2-parter, because it is a double record.
Yeah.
And, it's 18 songs. It's, an hour and 15 minutes total of music. It's like, it's already going to be hard enough to talk about and break down and really get into the first half of this, 2-parter
Right.
or whatever. Then, and so that's why I texted you asking if we could do just the first 9 songs first and then the second, because I was already so intimidated. And then I finally listened to it, and it was surprising at how I feel like I was too intimidated by it. But this is a very dense 9 tracks
So have you
that we're going to talk
listened
about.
to the entire album or just the first
I
song
have
so
not.
far? What?
I've only listened to the first disc,
Okay.
the first 9 songs, purposefully, because once we decided that we were only going to talk about the first 9, I'm like, well, that's what I'm going to focus on, because it was already a daunting task.
Sure.
And something that I was legit scared to do. So, and honestly, dude, a little bit of the fear too of like, I don't know if you felt the same way, of worried I wasn't going to like it.
Yeah, I mean, there's always that fear of like, I've always been scared for Kendrick because he's been so legendary for so long. He's kind of one of the greatest rappers of all time, inarguably.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
his monumentous albums, Good Kid and
To
T-Pad,
Pimp a Butterfly.
which
Yeah.
is considered
And-
one of the greatest rap albums of all time, maybe one of the greatest albums of all time.
Which took so long for me to like, too. It took me so long to understand To Pimp a Butterfly.
Yeah.
And but once I finally did, I understood the genius. But Good Kid, Mad City was just, in my opinion, one of the best hip hop albums of all time. So going from that to T-Pab, which was such a different vibe,
Yeah.
it was so hard. And then when I finally got it, I'm like, holy shit, this is amazing. And then it happened again with Damn, where I was like, this is so different. Like you can never predict where Kendrick is gonna go with the music that he picks for his albums. And those are so important to the overall vibe because he is one of those people that he changes his content and his delivery based on the music that he's using for that track, right?
Right. Yeah.
It's not like Pusha T, that he's just gonna rap about the same shit and have the same delivery on every track despite what the beat sounds like.
Yeah.
That's not the case with Kendrick. So the music is such a guiding force in how he writes his albums that man, if you don't like the music, it's really scary because then you're like, I don't like this album because this is not what I thought it was going to be. And I went into this though totally expecting it to be not what I expected it to be, and I wasn't surprised at all.
Yeah, I would say this might be the first time I've listened to a Kendrick album and it didn't like. There were definitely a couple big moments, but it's not like I was ever completely thrown off.
Right.
Though when I did hear that first song and that weird drum beat comes in, I was kind of like, ooh, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, man. United in Grief is a really, really interesting opener to the album. It gives it the whole thing a really suspenseful feeling.
Yeah, right.
Like an anxiety, like something is stirring.
Yeah.
And he talks about, for what was it, like 1,885 days or whatever, like I've been going through something.
Yeah.
Or I've been dealing with something. And I'm like, man, do you think he's been going through some shit before writing this record? Because holy fuck, every song is so intense.
Yeah, it's like very intense. It's very personal. You haven't listened to the second half of the record, so you haven't even gotten to some of the craziest stuff yet.
Yeah,
Which
one of the songs I keep... one of the songs I keep hearing about is Auntie Diaries, and I know that's going to be a really big song on this record. No, man, I haven't heard the second half, and I didn't know if I was doing myself a disservice by not listening to the whole thing, even when we were only going to talk about the first disc. But I feel like I did it the right way, because... I'd want to talk about that second half of the record if I had listened to it before we jumped into this, episode. So it's like I'm kind of glad I didn't hear it, but I am planning on when we're on the next episode. Obviously, we're talking about part 2, the second half of the second disc on this double feature or whatever. But I am going to listen to the whole album all the way through several times before that recording as well.
Yeah, and I think as opposed to like Good Kid, Mad City or To Pimp a Butterfly, this album is a lot less, like, it's not really a concept album as much as those albums were. It's kind of like Damn,
right,
where it's a little more diverse and it's got a little more freedom as to what, Kendrick is kind of focusing on.
Yeah, but a lot of it is just as personal as any of those records.
And it's more so when you get to the second half.
Wow, that's surprising, man, because I feel like the first half is really, really personal. I mean, he clearly went through some, women troubles in the last 5 years. He was dealing with writer's block, and he had a couple kids, and then the pandemic, and I'm sure the writer's block fucking with his head of like, am I done? Have I done my best stuff? And
right.
It's weird. It should be no surprise coming from Kendrick of how vulnerable he'll make himself and how personal he gets on his albums, but it's still, a lot of these songs are like open wounds. It sounds like, it just feels like these things that are still happening, that he's still processing.
Yeah.
And it feels like it was such a driving force and inspiration behind the writing on a lot of these songs. He's just going off, and his delivery is almost spoken word at times. And it just sounds like he's just saying what he needs to say. He's not trying to write a song. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and there are kind of a lot of spoken word type passages on this record, like the Rich interlude, which is done by Kodak Black, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. You got, Worldwide Steppers, I feel like feels very spoken word and all over the place.
Yeah, We Cry Together is like kind of half rap, half domestic dispute, which is really cool.
Dude, one of the most intense hip-hop songs I've heard in a long time is We Cry Together.
The delivery of, I forgot what her name was. It is Taylor Page.
Yes.
Taylor Page's delivery on that song is like she tuned into something. She was like kind of remembering some experiences that she had, because it sounds
It
super
felt that way,
raw and
right?
super personal.
Yeah, very real. That whole song felt really real, and it was really. It's even more impressive when you realize how good the writing is of the song, because it kind of sounds like they're just saying "fuck you" to each other over and over and over again, but it's so poetic, in a really weird way, and when you realize how they're how the writing is playing in and how they're rhyming certain things and the way that they're doing their rhyming and everything, it's really impressive. But if you don't try to dig deep and really appreciate what they're trying to do on the song, it almost sounds like something you would hear on like an ICP record. Almost. It almost sounds like a joke.
I mean, yeah, if they didn't put that kind of artistic intent into it, and they let it be a little more
Yes.
free form and not as like rehearsed and focused, and there was like a plot twist at the end of this song, you
Yeah.
know. If that hadn't happened, it would just kind of sound like this weird domestic dispute, I guess. I don't know.
But a very genuine sounding
Yeah.
one, a very legit sounding dispute, and super, super intense. And yeah, the twist at the end when they start having sex, and you're like, oh,
And
fuck.
it goes from like fuck you, and it's like fuck me, and then
Yeah.
they start just like banging,
Going
I
for
guess.
it.
They
But
go
then
for
it's they go for it. But it's really cool how they wrap up the kind of they make sense of the motif that you hear on several songs leading up to "We Cry Together," of this kind of footsteps happening.
Yeah, this tap dancing.
I didn't realize it was tap dancing until at one point in "We Cry Together" where they play the sound and she goes, stop, like quit tap dancing around the conversation
Yeah,
or something.
like stop dancing
Like,
around the issue or something like that.
stop dancing around the issue. They do it on N95. I think they do it on Worldwide Steppers too, and it's so well done and poetic and artistic. It's just artistry
Yeah.
happening when you realize that what Kendrick is saying and doing on this record.
Kendrick is always trying to make it artistic in a way and say a little more than you would expect, and I think the tap dancing
Yeah.
might also represent, because there are times on this album when he kind of talks about his role as a performer and
Yep.
trying to be real while also trying to kind of speak in ways that everyone can understand.
Yeah.
And so that tap dancing is like, while he's saying this stuff, he is still being performative about it.
Right. It's almost like I still have to entertain you people
Yeah.
while I get this stuff off my chest and try and process
Yeah.
whatever I'm going through. Yeah, that's a really interesting way of looking at it. And I almost wonder too, tap dancing is kind of synonymous with the jazz age. And while the jazz age was such a big deal for a lot of black musicians and it gave them success, a lot of it I know has this kind of darker history behind it too, where it's you look at the people that they're performing for and it's a bunch of rich white people most of the time.
Yeah.
So it's almost like you better tap dance, entertain people, and it's kind of that's why the WB frog is like super racist, because it's basically a vaudeville character, and vaudeville is kind of this racist time in entertainment history.
Yeah.
And it could be a callback or sort of reference to something like that too, where it's like it's still someone tap dancing for people.
Yeah.
But then it's that's what I mean, the parfait, man, the onion of what this album is, because then it's also stop tap dancing around the issue, and he's dealing with issues, father issues. He talks about it on Father Time, like he has daddy issues, he has abandonment issues, he has trust issues.
Yeah.
All it seems to stem from his dad being just a really horrible influence on him,
I mean, there's a whole lot of themes and issues and topics that you can't really like dissolve it into one thing. It's just kind of what
Right.
Kendrick's been dealing with, really.
Yeah, but it's interesting, like on Worldwide Steppers, where he's talking about all the different times he's had sex with white women, and I
how he
didn't really
feels about
understand,
that.
and how he feels about that, and it's such an interesting thing I've literally never thought of before, like how emotionally intense something like that could be.
Yeah.
But it's the way that he explains it, where he's like, the one of the girls he had sex with, turns out her dad was a sheriff, and her dad had arrested Kendrick's dad, so it was almost like, or Kendrick's
I
uncle
think it
or
was
something,
Kendrick's
so it
like
was almost
cousin or uncle.
cousin or uncle, yeah. And then it's he says like basically he's getting revenge on for his uncle or his family member that got arrested by having sex with the sheriff's daughter, and it's almost like, his ancestors seeing him have sex with a white woman, and it's almost like, kind of like a, yeah, fuck yeah, one for us type of thing.
Like payback.
It's so,
Or whatever.
that's such a, yeah, payback or whatever. And it's just such a theme that you don't seem to hear a lot, especially in hip hop music, where he's tying those personal things and cultural things all into something as dirty, or as kind of something that you might not think of as just having sex with someone.
Sure.
Like what that could mean culturally, what that can mean personally. Yeah. It's just such a, that's what I mean. The artistry just goes really far in this record, and it's one that it's gonna grow on me, just like every Kendrick album has had to grow on me.
Yeah, and the more I didn't think much about it at first, but the more I listen to these tracks, like these are some fantastic beats. Like these are some
a lot
like,
of really good beats.
S-rank beats, and like I didn't really expect it at first. I didn't really recognize that on my first listen. Mainly because there's a lot to take in, and like
right, but they're busy beats too. A lot of them are really busy, which I know you're into.
I do like my busy beats.
Fucking DJ busy beats.
But you might be surprised which ones my favorites are.
I'm interested in hearing it, man, because I definitely had that same journey too, where when I listened to the first 9 tracks, I was like, all right, that wasn't bad, that was pretty good. And the second time around, I'm starting to notice things in the lyrics, and they're starting to hit a little harder. Third time around, I'm starting to notice things in the music starting to hit a little harder. That fourth, fifth, sixth listens are really the ones where it paints the entire picture for you, and you realize how much is going on each song, where the beat ties into the lyrics tie into the music, the beats tie into the theme, the sound bites that they use, the samples that they use. All of it is so, none of it is overlooked or like a passing thought. Everything seemed very deliberate.
Yeah,
and like there was a lot of attention put on every decision on this record.
That's how Kendrick's always been. You're the one that told me about the Dissect podcast so long ago, and I got into it, and we went through T-Pab and Damn, and it just pieces apart the beats and like how they actually kind of have to do with like stuff he's talking about, and no one else literally puts that thought into their music.
Yeah, I think that's kind of that podcast, the Dissect podcast, which, by the way, if anyone who's watching this or listening to this has not heard that, oh my god, fucking
big ol' bud bump.
They're about to get the earbuds bump.
Earbuds bump.
Yeah, thanks to our 15 followers. And but really go check them out, because they break stuff down on an almost scientific level of why this music is so amazing, and it's really, really impressive.
If you get through the To Pimp a Butterfly Dissect series and you don't think it's a masterpiece and one of the greatest albums ever written, then you have no soul.
Yeah, you have no soul, and you might not. The music is not made for you then. And I think that's an interesting thing about Kendrick to me, is he has a pop following, but then I think the casual hip hop listener could listen to Kendrick and enjoy it, but it's really the fans like us who want to get into the lyrics and break down everything that's happening in the album that you get such a deeper appreciation of it.
Yeah, because there have been a lot of mainstream Kendrick bops, obviously starting with Good Kid, Mad City. To Pimp a Butterfly didn't really have many, except for maybe All Right, I think was a hit, and then Damn had a couple hits on it. The Black Panther soundtrack had a couple
Ooh,
hits on
so
it. So he
good.
knows how to write something that people are going to like while also keeping it artistically interesting.
Yeah, and artistic integrity too,
Yeah.
where it never feels like Kendrick has lost his integrity or his credibility in anything I've heard him on, and that's really impressive, man. And that's kind of, I would rather have 5 years in between albums and get something like this than have you feel forced to shit something out every year or 2 years, and we just get that's where you lose the artistic integrity,
Yeah.
is when you're on this schedule. So it's awesome that someone like Kendrick has the pull and the hand to say, I'm not ready, I'm not doing anything, and then when I am, it's gonna happen.
Yeah, he talks about how he had writer's block for a long time after Damn and Black Panther, and he gets
Yeah.
that time to like think about things and let events happen. Uh and like Pusha T is always saying that he does masterpieces.
He writes masterpieces. Yeah.
Kendrick is the only one that I would consider that person that like writes
Yeah, I think a lot of people consider my beautiful dark twisted fantasy to be a masterpiece.
I think that's overrated, but that's a whole other episode.
Personally, I agree with you. I think it's an amazing album, but to say it's a masterpiece, the Dissect series was great on it. It was really good.
I think it was great, and it definitely,
Yeah.
I got more of a respect for what was happening. But it's also a kind of
With
all
that
bullshit.
said, yeah, it's a lot of like vacuous kind of more arrogance and more just kind of empty stuff.
Yeah, like without getting too into it, it just kind of rings hollow for me. Any and all
Yeah.
of the messages on Dark Twisted Fantasy, while on an album like Kendrick's, you can even if it's a bad thing, he was going through these emotions, and through these songs, he is constantly trying to better himself, and he's constantly trying to figure
Right.
out what his role is, and it seems genuine. This journey that he's
Yeah.
been taking himself on, and where how he places himself in the world.
Yeah, it's really impressive to hear someone at his level. It's almost on I could put J. Cole in a really similar stature, similar tier, because J. Cole, I just feel, is the same way, that he's not going to write anything if he doesn't have anything to write.
Yeah.
And all of his stuff has a message, but he can still write stuff that you could play at a party.
Yeah.
And if you really pay attention, if you're the stone guy sitting on the couch in the corner at the party and you're listening to the lyrics, you're like, holy shit, this shit is deep. But I think this album is going to be ultimately kind of probably not one of my favorites from Kendrick, even over time, because dude, you got to be in a mood to listen to these songs because they're so heavy.
Yeah, it's very heavy. There's really not a lot of party songs, which is fine.
Well, it's fine. Yeah, for sure. This album is amazing for what it is, but it's not going to be one that I just put on to chill.
Like I think To Pimp a Butterfly is Kendrick's best album so far, but I prefer listening to Good Kid, Mad City.
Right.
Like I just
Yeah.
prefer those beats, and
I recognize the masterpiece that is To Pimp a Butterfly.
while not
Absolutely.
exactly there's great songs on it and stuff, but that's a tough album to get through.
It is, and it's one that I really didn't like the first time. The first 3 times I heard it, and then it was the same with this album. It was the same with these first 9 songs. That the first time I was like, okay, and then seriously, it really takes time for it to build and for it to kind of expose itself a little bit more, and you have to give it that many chances. With Kendrick, with Damn, it was immediate. With Good Kid, Mad City, it was immediate.
Sure.
But with To Pimp a Butterfly and with this one, it was Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers is a concept album in a way, but it's just a lot of songs that are just really personal and sometimes hard to listen to.
Yeah.
because it's so personal, and like I said, it feels like an open wound, that this is going to be a great album to listen to when I'm in certain moods. But this is not one I'm going to gravitate towards unless I'm like sad.
No, even though I really do like a lot of the beats on here, probably
Yeah.
not gonna, add it to any playlist or anything like that.
Sad or mad. Sad or mad are the two emotions I'll listen to
Sure.
this album. There's no I feel fucking badass listening to this, and that's what I like about hip hop the most,
Right.
is that it makes me feel cool. And none of these songs make me feel cool. They either make me mad or sad, and those are just as valid. But it's not something I'm going to drive around and listen to.
Right.
Yeah, but fucking. With that said, man, let's get into our choice notes.
Yeah. I want to ask you real quick because there's a good mixture of kind of genres and varieties on this
Yeah.
album as a whole. Would you say you preferred like the more traditional hip hop tracks or just kind of the weirder, off the wall ones more?
I appreciated obviously the more traditional ones, the ones that were really easy to bob my head to.
Yeah.
Um,
like the N95 and
Die Hard,
right.
Purple Hearts. Those were by far my favorite beats on the record, and I assumed that you liked the United in Grief, the Worldwide Steppers, the
That's right.
maybe even
I
like
like
Father
the
Time.
other ones, baby.
Yeah, Rich Spirit had a great beat too. They all are good, but yeah, man, the ones I mean, let's talking about it. My first choice nug is N95.
Sure. Yeah, that was the second single or first single.
It might. I think it's the
'Cause I
first.
know
It has the most
He
plays.
released Heart Part 5. I don't know
Right.
if I haven't gone back to that song. I don't know if that song's on the album, but he released a music video to N95. I don't know if you've like watched it or anything.
Yeah. I don't think I did. Honestly, I know about it. But yeah, this N95 is just the perfect beat to go with his perfect cadence and delivery.
Yeah. And
And it just builds up in intensity
it
to where like by the end he's just like so hype.
Right.
And that beat just like that kind of like I guess is it what's the fucking drill is like the British UK type beats.
Yeah.
Like this felt like a drill beat, and I know New York is doing a lot of that right now too. It's so fucking cool, man.
Yeah, because it kind of sounds like New York pianos with maybe like
Yeah.
a drill backbeat behind it or something.
Yeah, it sounds like an epic video game song.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
And this song has like a lot of iconic moments in it. My favorite part being like when he's just like rapping and in the backup he's just like, facts.
Yeah.
Facts.
Yeah, I love all the game does a lot of similar stuff on his stuff, but where they repeat the same beginning to a line or the same ending to a line for an entire verse sometimes. So that whole takeoff verse I fucking love it.
Yeah.
It's like how many ideas do you have to think of to say, all right, take off what? Take off what? Take off what? And it's like he has to keep thinking of shit to say, and it's impressive that he has that many examples of things. It's just like, all right, enough. And I love the theme of it of without all this stuff that you put on and all this act that you put on, what are you without all that shit?
Yeah.
Like you're not shit usually. Like you're just a person without all the designer clothes and all the stuff like. So it's a really cool theme for me, and I just love how his cadence changes on every verse, and it gets slowly more and more intense, and then Baby Keem comes in and does his like half crying sounding voice.
Yeah, right.
And it's intense also, and I love Baby Keem, man. I'm really liking his stuff, and I love the lines of where the hypocrites at. What community feel they're the only ones relevant? And he's just calling out, all the little subgenres of people that just feel like their shit's the most important thing to worry about, or that they're the ones that are persecuted today.
Yeah.
And he's clearly hated having the mask thing, or he hated having to deal with COVID and all that shit. So like that's part of it too.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's a mistake or a coincidence that he has a song called N95, and then the whole first verse is saying "take off blank."
No,
and he's
yeah.
like, take off the mask. And even though in 95, the mask could be like all the shit you wear, right? Take off the mask, like this person that you're pretending
No,
to
I don't
be.
think it's literal. I don't think he's an anti-masker.
I don't think it's literal.
Like that. I think he's
Yeah.
too smart for that.
But there are a couple lines in there that I feel like he's saying he didn't like having to deal with this
Well,
shit.
sure. Who did?
Right. Oh, I loved it.
You liked it? Yeah, you were like, oh, awesome. I get to stay inside.
Yeah. Oh, I'm scared every time I leave. This is great.
Well, let me tell you about my first snug on side 1 of Mr. Morale and Big Steppers. It's going to be...
Well, that's what we're doing. 2 choice nugs on each side, right?
That's right.
All right. So what's your first choice snug on the first
My first
disc?
choice snug, baby. It's going to be United in Grief.
Yeah, it's a great opener, man. That was one of my honorables.
I can't talk about it yet because you haven't listened to the second part yet.
Oh, is there a connection?
A little bit.
Okay.
Just the way the track starts off with, a very Kendrick thing to do is like have this like kind of not choir voice, but just this ambient. I hope you find some peace, and then
some peace of mind.
His girlfriend or
in
wife
this lifetime.
being like, tell them what you really, tell them who you are, tell them that you're, and then it cuts off and it goes to the beat, is like so kind of creepy and like foreshadowing,
Yes.
and it's like,
Really suspenseful.
yeah, and
it feels like there's something brewing, and you're like, where's this gonna go? And then all of a sudden, the drums happen, and you're like, oh, that's what it was like. It was building suspense for this moment.
yeah. And it was so cool when the drums came in the first time, and I was washing the dishes, and I was, just listening, and you're, and it's like you don't know where the beat is coming in, you don't know like what the one of the beat is, and he's just rapping to it, and you still don't know where anything is.
And it's startling.
This dude can
once
just,
the
like,
drums really start
he
going.
can literally rap over anything.
Yeah.
And he just goes off, and it's so crazy and cool, and I don't know, man. I think it's just a great way to start off the album.
Very intense way to start the record. And it's one of those songs that on first listen, it's so many things in it are so jarring.
Sure.
The combination of how fast he's rapping, so it's hard to keep up. Like we were saying, the weird suspenseful piano in the beginning that you're just like, where's this going? Why is this making me feel anxious? Like, I don't like it. And then when the drums, like that crazy drums that start happening, and then it has the combination of the piano over it. It's like this beat almost sounds like Tom York wrote it.
Yeah, right.
It sounds like it would be like on Kid A or something. It's that kind of moody anxiety to it that it's intense, man. It's intense, and it's a great way to start the album. And again, it's one that is a grower, not a shower. If you're looking for a traditional hip hop track, like this one's gonna be a little.
I mean, if you're looking for traditional hip hop, Kendrick's not like the best place to go.
Good point. Yeah, no, that's a great dude. Doesn't surprise me at all. You're such a fucking caveman with your beats that you need constant distractions.
I need to go. And I go like.
I just need. Yeah. You're just in there clacking rocks together, just singing along, loving it. Yeah, I would say this is probably the most United in Grief is probably the most interesting hip hop beat I've heard in a really long time.
Even though it's just kind of like a piano and that drum beat, some strings come in.
Some strings, yeah.
I wouldn't say it's his best opener, but it's a pretty good opener.
It's pretty good. If you're trying to set up a very intensely emotional record, it's a pretty good way to do it.
Well, what is your second nug on the first half of the album going to be, man?
Well, I had some honorable mentions. United in Grief was definitely one. Worldwide Steppers is going to take some time to grow on me, but Die Hard, Rich Spirit, loved both of those a lot. I loved the kind of Marvin Gaye vibe that Die Hard had.
Yeah.
Definitely the chillest track on the first half of this record. The shimmy, shimmy, come, come,
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of I can see. Fuck. It kind of reminded me of a song off Damn. You know,
Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe
it's like Love or
Love. Yeah.
something.
I could hear Love on that for sure. I liked the hook, that I hope you can see when
Yeah,
yeah, some good hooks on this record. And I would say Rich Spirit. I love the all the brother lines. Brother, like at the end, I thought it was really funny because he mentions like frat boys, and I'm guessing that's how he hears them in his head.
Right.
And We Cry Together just is again one of the most intense hip hop tracks I've ever heard in my fucking life. But
It's a lot.
man, it was I landed on Purple Hearts as my second
Really?
choice song on this. Yeah,
Okay, Purple.
and a lot of it has to do with the beat.
Sure, yeah. It's one of the more traditional ones. It starts off. Maybe Pharrell wrote this one. Who knows? Because it starts off with the ba ba ba
Yeah.
kind of keeping on that first note and eventually going into the second.
All the nice
one.
twinkles, it sounds like it could be a Harry Fraud song maybe
Sure,
at
yeah.
times, sounds like something Action might use.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
I was thinking of that too. And like, speaking of action, when Ghostface comes in.
Is that all you hear still?
It's all I hear, man. It's just
Yeah.
that fucking. They must have been born in the same place, right?
Yeah, I think they're both from Queens.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
And yeah, I mean, and a lot of storytelling type stuff. But I would say Ghostface feature was decent. I don't think it was anything amazing or impressive.
I thought it was. I honestly thought
It was alright.
Kodak's Rich interlude was my favorite feature on the first half of the album.
Yeah, I agree. I was a little upset with the hook in Father Time is what kind of took me out of the song. Is I really think the hook sucked. No chaser,
I love that
no
hook,
chaser.
dude.
I hated it, dude.
Chaser.
I love Sampha. Like I've listened to a lot of Sampha stuff. I love his stuff, and I feel like he was wasted on Father Time.
I think it's good shit.
I didn't, yeah, the features didn't really impress me a lot, and that's what kind of surprised me that Purple Hearts ended up being my second choice now, which I think is going to change over time because I really didn't like Summer Walker's part either. I feel like having a song like this, it almost sounds like it could be like a Rick Ross song also, and then you have this really cheesy R&B female vocals for a verse that they're not saying anything that interesting, and her voice is like fine.
Yeah.
It's not like she's doing any amazing vocal work either. I'm just like, it was just really cheesy. But I like the shut the fuck up when you hear love talking. I love that line.
Fuck up when you hear love talking.
Kendrick's verse and the beat is what made Purple Hearts for me, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, if Kendrick doesn't get you across the finish line, I don't know who will.
Yeah, well, he hasn't given me a happy ending yet. But I'm hoping that it happens by the end of the record. What is your second choice, Nog, man?
I'll tell you. My honorable mentions of the first half of the record. I think the Rich interlude was good. I know there's some controversy behind Kodak Black. I don't really know.
Yeah.
What? I feel like I should probably look into it before I start singing his praises.
It's just like a lot of other people in this scene that they just have a history of doing stuff, and you decide whether you want to support them or not. It's like they mentioned, R. Kelly on We Cry Together. And she was like, you're the reason why, men like R. Kelly got away with it for so long. And he was just like, yeah, but that didn't stop people from listening to his fucking music.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with Chris Brown and, Kodak Black and a lot of other people in the music industry that have done some fucked up shit that people still love and support,
But honorable mentions are that Father Time. I love the chorus on that one. No chaser, no chaser.
Drink no chaser.
I think it's an interesting song about toxic masculinity and all that, but also getting the side of this toxic.
But what did it do for me?
Masculinity is kind of part of why I'm successful and why I'm
exactly
the way I'm,
why it made me competitive. Why it made me want to work so hard and be better than everyone.
So there's a lot
because
of there's some give and take with it, and it's like no matter what you do, you're never gonna raise your kids perfectly. You're gonna do
Yeah.
something that impedes them later on, because that's just like what being a parent is. And this might be a little
Yeah.
more intense depending on who your parents are.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, it kind of falls within. Me and Christina have been like talking a lot about the just the concept of where you don't have to be one thing, or it doesn't have to be one sided, or you don't have to take one thing away from something. Like you can have a negative and a positive
Yeah,
takeaway from the same
for
thing,
sure.
right? And we just realize that so often in our lives where I'm such an you know, and Christina's such an and it's kind of the same thing with Father Time, where it's like he talks about how his dad and all these other relationships in his life gave him trust issues and like you said, toxic masculinity. But yeah, that really fucked with my head, and that really made life hard on me in a lot of different ways. And it's part of the reason why I'm so successful.
Yeah.
It's part of the reason why I try so hard. It's part of the reason why I'm so competitive. And it's like, look what that did for me too. And I love seeing both sides of things like that and realizing that life really isn't black or white, man. Like everything is in the gray. And once it becomes black or white, that's where you lost something along the way.
Yeah, no,
You lost some perspective along the way.
life's all kind of a spectrum of stuff,
Yeah.
and
Like you can be masculine and have feminine qualities to you. That's like I'm very like I have very masculine and very feminine things about me. And it's why not
and trying to
like I'm a white Latin guy. I have a lot of white fucking interests and I have a lot of Latin interests. I'm an and.
trying to shove yourself in a box and fit in it for your whole life does nothing but, detriment your happiness.
Yeah. You really like you don't help yourself by feeling like you have to fall within one category or fit in one bucket or have this mold. So it's yeah, I really appreciated that message in Father Time a lot because I feel like that's not people don't seem to talk about that enough. You can be Republican and gay. You know what I mean? Like you can be an atheist and be married to a Christian woman, a devout Christian. It's just it's really interesting, and I think it's realizing that there's so much
and I think that
I think would eliminate a lot of issues that we have in society and culture.
And I think that's
where you look at other people as
It's a big reason why Kendrick is so smart with his lyrics and his writing is because he always talks about the end. He's always he was always talking about how he kind of raised himself up from his upbringings, but how those upbringings are still with him, and being proud of being who he is while also recognizing there are things wrong with who he is. And he always
that there are imperfections and things that he can improve on.
Always looking at both sides of everything, always trying to attack everything from all different angles. And yeah, I think it's just
we need more of that, man, and I think a lot of it takes introspection.
Right. Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are either don't know how or are scared to.
I'm scared too.
Like,
I don't want to.
I mean, there was a long time where I didn't, because I just thought I had to do what I'm an adult now. I have to do what I'm supposed to hate the person I'm in a relationship with, or I'm supposed to hate what I do every day.
Right.
That's what you see on TV. That's what you see in families all the time. Like my parents were together for 20 years and they probably weren't happy for 15 of those. You know what I mean? And it's just like, well, that's just part of being an adult. That's part of the deal. Like you're not supposed to always be happy with this person. You're not supposed to like what you do. Like you're supposed to go home tired and like having a beer and being like, ugh, like exhausted on the couch, and just get ready to do it again the next day. Yeah, I think there's a lot of times where people don't like want to challenge themselves and don't want to challenge why you think certain things or why you react certain ways to certain things.
Well, because there are a lot of these places are kind of trapped in an echo chamber. A lot of the places in the South, where everyone thinks these same values that they've been brought up.
I mean, the South. I think the South is really easy to pick on. I think it's just rural.
Yeah, there's also
rural places
in
just
Seattle
stuck. Yes,
this toxic mindset and stuff, and
they're stuck, man.
I don't know. It's just really hard because it's all spectrums and stuff, and
Yeah.
it's really hard to get people to understand that, like, we're not so like, what's the point of living if we're supposed to be miserable all the time with fleeting moments of happiness? You
Right.
know?
And but yeah, absolutely. And it can get as deep and as serious and life changing as conversations or thoughts like that of just like, who am I,
Yeah.
type of thing. But it can be boiled down to something as stupid and trivial as like, I'm a metalhead and I love pop music.
Sure.
Like,
Yeah.
it's where so many people are just like, I am a metalhead. I don't like anything else but fucking metal music. That's who I identify as. I only watch horror movies. Like, that's the only type of movie I'm willing to watch. Horror. I don't want to watch anything else. I'm not into anything else. And it's like, why? Why do you deny yourself so many things that you could be enjoying? If you're just honest with yourself about what you like.
Like, I know we
you
all,
know?
everyone who was into music had a phase where they're like, I'm not gonna listen to this type of music because it's all bad, and like, if it doesn't have this
Yeah.
in it, it's bad. We've all had that, and luckily, I think most of us have kind of risen above that, and will be genres we prefer not to listen to, but you're never gonna bar
it's
yourself
okay
from
not to like
enjoying
something.
you like.
Yes. Yeah, it's the same thing as like, you hated broccoli when you were 5 years old. Like, what, you're not going to try broccoli ever again in your life? What if you fucking love it when you're 20? And then it was kind of it was like the Hives record that we listened to that I'm just like, damn it. Like, I always thought the Hives were just the same bullshit garage rock that came out of, the UK or whatever. And it turns out, like, dude, I'd been denying myself a record that I'd love for over 20 years because I don't like it. It's 20 years of my life I could have been enjoying fucking Veni Vidi Vicious.
Great fucking album. Go ahead and listen to that episode.
Great
y'all.
fucking album. Great fucking album. That reminds me, what was your second choice song on this?
Is that what we were talking?
Yeah, I think.
Well, real quick, We Cry Together is a really cool beat. Really
Amazing
interesting
song.
concept for a song. But my second choice,
Yeah.
Nug, is gonna be, I think you already know, track number 3, Worldwide Steppers. Such
Yep.
a moody and creepy, pulsating beat on this one. I think it's so interesting. I don't know what most of the noises on here are. Kendrick's delivery, I'm a killer, she's a killer, he's a killer, duh. Is like,
Yeah, it's talking about zombies and shit. That beat is so anxious.
it's extremely.
It's like what people hear in their ears when they're about to have like a fucking panic attack.
Yeah, it's what I hear on a daily basis.
Yeah, that's what I hear every time I do whippets. It's just wow, 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 wow. So every day.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
how else are you gonna get out of bed?
Yeah, how else am I supposed to start my day? Well, the hippie speedball is whip it. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. But yeah, the song is very spoken word, and it's all over the place. But I know it's going to be one that grows on me the more I listen to it because there's just so much to take away from it and like so much to break down.
Yeah, and Kendrick's delivery is great on this one. He matches the eerie and kind of horror vibe of the beat with this low, as you said, spoken word, but also very quick, very like he's rushing himself a little bit.
Yeah, and it's so impressive that he's somehow on beat, but he doesn't have a cadence. There's no cadence to this song.
Yeah. No, except for like that kind of hook that comes back in. I'm a killer, he's a killer, she's a killer, done.
Right. Yeah.
It's just the verses just kind of go on, and they kind of ebb and flow into different places.
It's a really another unique, only Kendrick can pull off this
And
shit
then,
song.
Like 2 minutes in, like a lot more than 2 minutes in, it kind of just breaks into something he loves to do, which is have like a TV censor and then go into another beat. That's something he's done multiple times, I believe.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of it. I love that they did it on the song that he was on with Baby Keem, the Family Matters song, where it's all of a sudden 2 minutes in, it's just like, whoa, it just completely changes vibe, and it really just takes you on a trip, man. Worldwide Steppers wasn't, I liked it, but I didn't name it as an honorable mention only because I haven't listened to it enough times for it to really sink in. I think I need a good 10, 15
I think it's
for me to be like, this is
a
genius.
great song. The ambient pianos that subtly make their way into like the
Yeah.
last part of the song out
Yeah.
of nowhere are really cool. I think it's just really cool. I think it's a great record.
Hey, good for you.
Hey, look, what are you, a man who knows nothing, gonna rate the first half of this album?
A man with nothing to lose, nothing to
A man
gain.
with nothing in your pockets and nothing to lose.
Yeah, man, like I said in the beginning, I was really intimidated to listen to this record. I was intimidated while I was listening to it, and I was intimidated while I was getting ready to talk about it with you. I think it's a really emotionally open and intense record. It's not one that I'm going to gravitate towards unless I'm in a very specific mood. But the between the music, the lyrics, the delivery, the themes, and the content in general, just the lyrical content, it's like the artistry is on. He's back to Pimp a Butterfly level, in terms of artistry and really crafting this whole thing to get the message across. I think it's there's so much thought put into this record that I can't possibly give it anything lower than what I'm going to give it, just from a respect to an artist
Okay.
of who
So
he
you
is.
don't even want to give it this score.
I no, I would say my enjoyment of it, the rating is not going to reflect how much I really enjoyed it. I'm going to rate it higher than how I really enjoyed the record because of the respect that I have for it.
Yeah, I think that's legit. We don't really do that too often.
No, I usually go purely off of vibes and whether I really liked it or not. And there's a lot to like here, but I'm gonna give it an 8.0
All right.
for I'm sure in 6 months it'll be higher than that, maybe not. But just based off of artistry alone, respect for what he did and respect for what he's trying to do, and he's still an amazing lyricist and storyteller. 8.0.
Dang. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna probably be somewhere around there, maybe a little lower.
Okay.
But I've heard,
I thought you were gonna be
I've
higher.
heard. There's a thing with this album. Kendrick loves to do this kind of thing, where I think I've heard that track, the first track and the last track of the entire album, are kind of share themes with each other, and then
Like bookends.
yeah, and so like the second song and the second to last song kind of share things with each other, and so I haven't listened to the album in that context yet. It'll be interesting seeing what that's all about, and by then, like by the next week we record, there will be more stuff about this album kind of enlightening us on stuff we didn't see the first time and all that.
Right, for sure.
With that being said, there's some really top-notch S-ranked beats on this side of the album.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I feel like he might have even been holding himself back a little bit, just with how
That's surprising for you to think that. I feel like he really went as hard as he could on a lot of these
I think he could have
tracks.
gotten a little weirder, but
Okay.
he definitely got some songs on here that you can, like put on the radio. I'm listening to Die Hard right now. That's for sure in 95. But he's also got some
Purple Hearts.
yeah.
Easy radio track.
And so just with me vibing with it right now, I'm going to give it like a 7.6, So it's not,
Alright,
not
solid.
that much lower. And
Yeah.
I think the overall score, we're going to give the second half a score, and then we're going to give the whole thing a score. And I think
Yes.
that'll be bigger than anything. But we'll see.
For sure.
Who knows?
We'll see, man. I'm excited to hear it. I'm excited to listen to the second half. Yeah, overall, really impressive from Kendrick. And again, a grower, not a shower, and one that I know the album's going to really, over time, have more impact on me. But yeah, man.
Man, I am so excited to see your reaction to the second half of this album.
I'm excited to hear it. I feel like I feel a little bit better equipped to talk about Kendrick now. I feel like this was a good warm up for the next episode. But thanks for listening, buds. Thanks for watching. This is a pretty incredible album in the hip hop genre. I mean, it's something that you don't hear a lot in coming from hip hop, and I definitely think it's worth listening to. We're going to talk about the second half of this record, the second disc on this record, on the next episode, so stick around for that. Check us out on Instagram at EBPcast. I'm at Jean-Luc Guitard. Brett's at Brett Handrahan. You can find us on there. Watch us on YouTube. Check us out on Podbean, I guess, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. And yeah, man, we're going to keep doing these episodes. Let us know what you guys thought of this record. Are you guys as, like, hyped about this as we've been, or at least as impressed as we are with this, or even more? Because I'm sure there's some people that this is like a 10 out of 10 record for, and I want to hear from them.
Everyone has an opinion about this record right now. If I don't see some damn comments
in our
YouTube or our iTunes, and I'm gonna be pissed and I'm gonna cry.
Yeah, just give Brett some comments. Did you hate this album? Because I want to hear why some people maybe fucking hated this.
Do you hate me? Is that why you don't comment?
Comment about how much you hate Brett and how much you love me. We want to see your comments.
Well, maybe not that.
No. Yeah, exactly that. And stick around. Second half of this record is going to be our next episode. Brett, what would you rate this episode?
I'm rating this episode a 1 skip to 10 out of 10. It's a big step.
All right. I'm going to rate this a... oh, I get it now, the big step thing.
Yeah, it's like a big stepper thing.
All right. I'll just rate it an 8.0.
All right, great.
All
That
right.
makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, and Brett, I think this was...
good.
This was good.
All right, see you, buddies. Bye.
Bye, buddies. Salute.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance. Do you remember the Texas? Never mind. All right, let's stop.
We'll get, yeah. Happy Memorial Day, fuckers. Bye.